Hello, gorgeous entrepreneur. It's Tash Corbin here, and welcome to another episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 248, which means you can find all the relevant links and show notes for today's episode over at tashcorbin.com/248. In today's episode, I'm going to help you address the big, horrible issue of what to do when everything just feels too hard. When business is overwhelming, how do you address it? And this is a really helpful episode for preventative means as well as addressing it after it's come up. So regardless of whether you're in it's too hard mode right now or whether you want to prevent it from coming up in the future, this is going to be a very helpful episode for you. So let's dive in. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. Now, I don't know if I've ever met an entrepreneur who hasn't experienced burnout, overwhelm, or falling into patterns of overworking. And it can be very easy to decide that having a business is too hard. It's not worth it. It takes up too much time. It's not your heart's work to be doing the marketing piece. And it would be so much easier if you could just go back and get a job. But at the end of the day, you decided that you wanted to start a business for a reason. And even though sometimes it can be hard and overwhelming, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's just part and parcel of having your own business. In fact, when we get to spot the signs of burnout, overwhelm, overworking, or any of the other signs that things just aren't working appropriately for us and address them quickly and effectively, we make our business easier and easier. It becomes more and more of a joy. Now, one of the big things that I've noticed is that the burnout effect, or feeling like your business is too hard or overwhelming, is multiplied when you're also not making money. So if you have a think about some of your beliefs about what it takes to make great money on your business or grow your business, if you think about maybe being on social media for 2 hours a day. Now, being on social media for 2 hours a day and it not working and not getting any feedback from people, not getting any connections, not getting any messages back from people, that feels really overwhelming, and that feels like the path to burnout. But if I said to you, in 2 hours a day on social media, you can make $50,000 a month in sales, would you still feel the same way? Probably not. And so when you're not making money from particular activities, or especially the marketing and sales parts of your business, that's when that overwhelm is multiplied. That's when that sense of overworking and I need to do more and I need to work harder can actually snowball into something bigger than it ever needed to be. But all of that being said, even if it is working, did you start a business to be feeling like you need to spread yourself thin? You are in a state of overwhelm all the time. Did you start a business to do hard things all of the time? Probably not. So in this episode, I want to share with you my 5 strategies for dealing with that feeling that it's too hard, or the signs and symptoms of moving towards burnout or overwhelm. And one of the biggest signs for me is working harder than I normally would, or working longer than I normally would. So what I'm going to give you is my 5-step strategy for addressing that overworking, preventing the overwhelm and burnout, or bouncing back from it. So hopefully you'll find this helpful, and let's dive into those 5 strategies. Number 1, delivery for existing clients always comes first for me. So if I find myself feeling like I don't have time to do all the things in my business, or I'm feeling overwhelmed by all the things I want to do in my business, my number 1 priority is ensuring that I deliver to existing clients, whether that's the clients inside my Takeoff group program or my accelerator or my VIP one-to-one clients. I make sure that delivery comes first. And the reason why I do this is not just from I want to make sure I'm delivering on my promise perspective, which is a values alignment thing for me, but I also know that the fastest way for me to dry up leads and new sales coming in is feeling like I'm under delivering for the people that I've already got in my world. And this was particularly prominent for me when I was working mostly with people one-to-one. So if I'm feeling like I need to make more money, my business is getting hard, my cash flow is drying up, the number one thing I made sure I was doing was feeling very confident about what I was delivering to my existing clients. So whenever I embarked on a fast money target or setting myself a goal to bring in a big bunch of new clients or a big launch, step one or step zero, before I even begin that process, is to check in with how I'm feeling about delivery for existing clients. If you've got 6 clients who are waiting for things from you, if you've got clients who've said they want to book in their next session, but you've never sent them their link, or if you've got clients who you've promised things to and you haven't delivered them yet, or they're not happy with your service, then how are you supposed to show up energetically and from a great emotional platform in going out and saying to people, I'm really good at this, you should buy from me? Because they're so intrinsically linked. So for me, step one is to always ensure that I'm delivering appropriately for the clients I already have. And if I don't feel like I have the time and energy to do that, then I have no business going out and getting more clients. So I need to make sure I'm really setting myself up with effective client management systems. I'm setting myself up with a great schedule so that I can deliver on the things I've already been paid for or I've already received commitments to be paid for. So that is always step number one for me. And I find it really worrying that more mentors don't speak about that piece first, to be 100% honest with you, because I know that there's a big feeling out there, once you sell something to someone, well, whether they get the result or not is totally their responsibility. I take a shared responsibility. We are working as a team. We are co-creating that transformation. And if I'm not bringing my best to that relationship, then how on earth can I stand on social media with any sense of values alignment and say, you should come and work with me because I'm going to be really good for you. I think I'm the right fit to help you with whatever the outcome is that I'm helping you with. So that's number one for me. Number two is reviewing your marketing process. Now, you shouldn't just be throwing spaghetti at the wall all the time when it comes to marketing and sales in your business. You want to eventually land on a client attraction process. My 5-stage client attraction process is reach, getting out in front of the right people, nurture, making sure that people are moving from cold audience to warm audience as quickly as possible, lead generation, actively encouraging people to talk to me about my services and products, sales conversion, whether that be through email marketing or sales conversations or active follow-ups, and effective delivery. That's my 5-step process. So for each of those steps of the process, I have 1 or 2 strategies maximum that are my core strategies. And if you can't simplify your client attraction process down to a step-by-step process that you know works and that you know is simplified, how on earth are you supposed to systemize and scale to get that going to larger audiences? You're making it hard for yourself by refusing or avoiding that process thinking. So step 2 is always to review my client attraction process, simplify it down to the things that I know work, and then scale it from there. In most cases, whenever I'm getting into that sense of overwork or overwhelm, it's because I've been lured into some kind of shiny object that's promising to get me more cold reach. And I know my conversions, my sales are not directly impacted by cold reach, especially not in the short term. Cold reach is one of my last priorities when it comes to growing my business and scaling and getting those clients in the door. So map out what your client attraction process is step by step, simplify it right down. Remember, 20% of your actions and your strategies will get you 80% of your results anyway. So simplify that right down to the highest connection, highest conversion strategies, and just focus on nailing that first. If you are feeling like I need to have a YouTube channel, I need to SEO my website, I need to have a podcast, I need to be on Facebook, I need to be on Instagram, I need to do these TikTok videos, of course you're going to start feeling overworked and burnt out, because that's not a simplified client attraction process. That is throwing spaghetti at the internet and hoping that some of it sticks. So you want to take responsibility for mapping out what is that client attraction process, how can you simplify it down to the things that work, and then scale it from there. Number 3, I get very real with myself about what I'm spending my time on. So something I will do from time to time is have a week where I note down at 20-minute intervals what I've been doing for the last 20 minutes. It's a time and motion study. In most cases, I want to be working in my business 15 to 20 hours a week maximum. And if I'm feeling like that's creeping up a little, or I'm avoiding my business and it's actually going down, I will do a little time and motion study for the week just to pay attention. Pay attention to what I'm actually working on, how I feel about what I'm working on, how I feel about my business, and get real with myself about what I'm actually spending time on. Remember again, 20% of the effort gets 80% of the results. And most of the time when I'm feeling like my hours are creeping up, it's because I'm distracted by shiny objects, random projects that actually aren't moving my business forward. They just feel like they're fun, fluffy things to keep me busy. And sometimes I notice that the reason why I've fallen into that trap of doing all of these things that are keeping me busy but not actually getting me results is because of my default mindset, which is, in order to deserve my results, I need to be working really hard. And every time I get to a new income level, that same thought and feeling pattern rears its head again. It rears its head sometimes in unhelpful thought patterns, that pop up thoughts that get in my way. But more often than not, it rears its head through me defaulting into busyness. So by getting real on what you're actually spending your time on and maybe tracking it and paying attention to it with a little more detail, you'll be able to see, is this an issue of your business actually needs you for 60 hours a week? Or is this you need to feel busy for 60 hours a week to feel like you deserve the results that you're wanting to achieve? So that's number 3, get real with yourself about the time that you're investing in your business. Number 4 is get some external perspective. If you don't have a business bestie or a mastermind or some form of support network or a mentor or a coach or someone other than generally your partner or family members, they can help, but in most cases, they're going to try and fix it or tell you what to do. That is not what you want in this instance. But having someone that you can just talk it out with and get some external perspective with can really change that behavior. It can be such a pattern interrupt. Sometimes you're doing all the things to grow your business because you've worked with 12 different mentors over the last 3 years and you've accumulated all these must-dos for your business. But are those must-dos still actually relevant to your growth strategy? I had a new VIP client I was working with just a few weeks ago, and when we did this and reviewed what her client attraction process was, she was still doing 4 blog posts a week on her website for SEO and keyword optimization and wanting to try and build a static YouTube channel. But when we actually looked at the time and energy that went into that approach and what it was actually resulting in terms of results for her business, it was counterproductive, because what was happening was her audience was struggling to keep up with the quantity of content that she was creating. So not only was it not good for her and was burning her out and overworking her, it also wasn't good for her audience because they were having to run around the internet try and find all the new content she was releasing so consistently. So we actually scaled her back to 1 video a week. We reduced her content creation workload by 75%. Because even with reducing that down to 1 video per week, she would still be able to ensure that she's hitting some good keywords, she's SEOing her website, she's still getting more followers on her YouTube channel, but she's not doing it in a way that's completely burning her out. The whole 4 videos a week on YouTube thing is for people who want to monetize and grow specifically just with a YouTube audience. It's not the right balance of work in terms of monetizing through other channels like selling VIP services or group programs. So get some external perspective, and generally I do recommend getting that perspective from someone who is a mentor or who is experienced in helping people to actually work out what to take off their plate from a marketing perspective. Someone who's up to date with what's actually going to achieve the results you want to achieve and what's not. Another example of this is that I had someone that I was working with several months ago now, and she was still using scheduling tools outside of Facebook, and she was using like a platform where she was doing this huge content plan and pushing things off to 6 different social media channels, and she had this like really complicated content strategy. And when we looked at all of those social media channels and all of the work that was going into it and the results that I was getting for her, I said to her, look, there is some audience growth happening here, but what if we were able to create audience growth that also resulted in sales quickly? So we switched up some of the work she was doing on that with a high touch, high connection, high conversion Facebook group strategy. And she made more money in the following 2 weeks from being in Facebook groups and using that high connection, high conversion strategy than she had made in the previous 2 years with all of this extra work. So sometimes you can switch out a strategy and still achieve the same results, but often with up-to-date, more streamlined approaches, you can achieve even better results. And then number 5 is to DAL instead of OOPS. So I've got a couple of acronyms here for you with this one. But my approach to any type of marketing strategy, sales strategy, implementing anything in my business that helps me prevent overthinking and overload and overwhelm is the DAL principle. We want to DAL it. So that's DARL. You want to decide, act, refine, learn. And just do it as quickly as you can. Decide, act, refine, learn. You may have heard me say before, no great business was built on theory. No great messaging was built on theory. No great course was built on theory. No great webinar was built on theory. No great element of your business and marketing strategy was ever built on theory. So instead of consistently overthinking it or perfecting it behind the scenes or getting caught into that space, instead, I want you to just DAL it, right? We're going to be darling all day long. Decide, act, refine, and learn. The opposite of DAL is OOPS, which is overthink, overload, procrastinate, and shame. And I've seen this pop up for me as my opposite to DAL several times, even in the last year. The OOPS one is where you get caught up in that cycle of overthinking things and worrying about whether it's perfect or right or it's good enough. You're looking for someone to tell you and give you the tick that it's okay, instead of just taking that action. So you overthink things, you overload yourself instead of choosing 2 great strategies per stage of your client attraction process. You think, well, what's better than 2 strategies? 5 strategies. So you tell yourself, well, I'm going to accelerate my results by being on 5 channels or doing 5 strategies or 10 strategies. And all you're doing is overloading yourself and under delivering in every single one of those things that you've just added to your plate. So you're overthinking, overloading, then you procrastinate because you're so overwhelmed, you get so tired, there's so much to do, and then you get in the shame spiral because you're not being as productive as you should be. You're not doing all the things that you know that you should do. You're not even hitting your basics anymore. But that's because you've overthunk it and you've overloaded yourself. So instead of oops, overthink, overload, procrastinate, and shame, I want you to DAL, decide, act, refine, and learn. And get yourself into that habit of moving forward, taking baby steps, and learning as you go. Okay, so that's my 5-step strategy on what to do when it's too hard and your business is overwhelming. I hope that you found that very helpful. As always, continue the conversation over in the Heart Centre community using #podcastaha. Let me know you've been listening to episode number 248 and we'll continue the conversation there. If you would like to get your business on the fast track to results and you are done with oopsing all over yourself, I also have a great training for you. It's called Fast Track Your Startup, and in it, I help you work out what are the things you need to focus on and what are the things that you can let go of so that you can get to the money-making part of having a business faster. You can find all the details over with the show notes today at tashcorbin.com/248. Until next time, thank you so much for listening to the Heart Centre Business Podcast, and I cannot wait to see you shine. Bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.